Ted is with his shades. Ted is excellent at scouting with skeletons. He's always been really good at that in particular. But for most players, I would recommend that you get shades much earlier than Ted does. I mean, because he knows what his opponent's doing. He's got that pro intuition, but you don't, so get some shades. Anyway, of course, both players are tier 3, or almost tier 3, I should say. The orb on Ted's Lich is a big deal, and also notice now he is tier 3, he is starting to switch over to Fiends, that being Ted, which is the final phase in his Grandmaster plan that I explained earlier, and quite brilliant. One of the reasons you want to get shades, by the way, is notice how Fav has this shade tailing his opponent the whole damn time, and you know, how many times have you watched a replay and been like, God damn, you know, son of a bitch map hacker, and then you realize you have a shade on you and you just smack yourself in the forehead and felt like an idiot. I mean, it's probably happened more than once to most people. Dark Ranger for Ted, that's the typical choice when you're going Fiends. Very solid hero, silence, very useful, and also some extra focus damage. Which is really, that's all it's about, eh? And so, we have now come to the magic point in the game. It happens in every Undead Mirror. You love it or you hate it, where everybody just backs off and creeps the whole goddamn map. So, take a drink. And deal with it. Destroyer research for Fav. You notice he is going to go pretty Destroyer heavy in this game, which is interesting. Usually Frost Realms are very nice for the focus damage. Really, Frost Realms are there for hero focusing. Oh, here, pretty cool. This is something you gotta watch out for. Sappers. That's right. Fav is gonna go for a Sapper right here, but let's talk about both sides of the Sapper raids. There's not really much you can do to defend against Sappers except, I don't know, beat Gosu. But when using Sappers, don't do this. He leads with the Sapper. The Sapper takes the cold damage from the freaking thing. He's going to go for Ziggs, and he's not going to get it, so he just has to bail and attack a Crypt with the Sapper. Sappers are about 250 gold and 100 lumber. If you're not going to get building kills, they're not worth it. In fact, one Ziggurat is usually not worth a Sapper. Usually you have to get 2 Ziggs for it to be cost effective, which is very hard. So, Sappers are very hard to use. I think he lost 2 Fiends there. Yeah, looks like it. 2 little corpses. Woot. So, in exchange for an Acolyte and a half, not really very useful. So that was, you know, it was good idea for Fav, but not the greatest execution. Let's see, does Ted have Sapper shades yet? Yes, he has a Sacrificial Pit. He just got up. So he'll be getting shades very shortly. And now that both players had their little interaction, they will continue to creep out the goddamn map. Fav finally picking up his Dark Ranger. He's a little bit behind in hero levels here. But, you know, what are you gonna do? Oh, I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna creep. Just like everybody does. So, Fav gets another great idea, and he's playing pretty aggressive this game. And he's going to go for the creep check here. But unfortunately, he's a little late. The camp is already fully crept out. He's not really taking advantage of it. Pretty good silence goes off there. He doesn't devour the silence on his Lich, he being Fav. So, the Lich goes ahead and is useless for a little while there. In this kind of fight, ignore the Destros. They're not really doing enough damage, and they don't die fast enough for you to do anything. As the Ghoul player, you pretty much just want to swarm up on the Fiends and, well, I guess there weren't too many Ghouls, but you pretty much want to just go for the Fiends. Silence the Death Knight right when a Fiend's about half HP, so that he can't heal. And, or the alternative use of silence that you can do is about 4 or 5 seconds after a Lich uses Nova, go ahead and silence the Lich to make the Nova not happen. Okay, so this is a pretty slick little hero arena battle. We have a couple of really cool things that happens here. There's going to be a pretty slick heal pot pass, I believe. Oh, this is pretty cool. So the Dark Ranger uses a Invuln pod, and so he focuses down on the Lich. Yes, it's cool. Ted coils the Lich, and then the invuln pot wears off, and he lets the Dark Ranger get out of range. So even though his coil cooldown was up, he couldn't really do anything about that. Be careful, you only have one Death Knight. So, yeah, that was definitely, overall, the fight was... I mean, they're both at pretty much even food, but Fav kind of came away with the decent advantage at the end of that fight. And there's not really too much to it. I mean, it's just, micro. You pick it up as you play the game. Don't lose your heroes. And, yeah, there's a pro tip for you. So yeah. I wonder, have you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen that cool trick where you lose the Destro. Noob. I've seen that cool trick where you, with Orc, lure the dragon into someone's base with a Wind Rider and a Raider. I wonder if you could do that with Undead. Like, I imagine a Gargoyle wouldn't work because he'd take too many hits from the dragon because he's melee attack. But I wonder if you could do it with like a Frost Worm. That'd be pretty cool. I bet you could, dude. That'd be pretty tight. Pull that off against someone. See, I really wish... Oh, creep check here. Remember, these corner camps are prime creeping material at this point in the game, and you should kind of expect a good opponent to start going for them, especially with destroyers, because there's two types of spells, Bloodlust and Inner Fire, being cast on these creeps, which means that Destros are excellent for creeping them out. You weaken the creep by a lot, and you just give yourself a bunch of free mana, so you're going to do a ton of damage. But, don't let your opponent creep these out. They give an absolute monster load of experience, and they also give ridiculous items. I really wish they would nerf the item drops to that corner camp. Like, right there, he had a Khadgar's Gem of Health, plus 300. Like, what the fuck is that, They dropped, like, Staff of Silence. I mean, if you get one of those and you've already got a Dark Ranger dual silence, it's like, that shit will never fucking talk again. It's quite imbalanced, if you ask me. I don't really like it too much, but, hey, what are you gonna do? It's really easy creep to camp with Undead. So, once again, he's going for the other one. Nova on the Shade, that's a pretty big deal, actually, because if you kill his Shade, then he can't really kill your Shade, and you can do all those neat tricks with Burrow and whatnot. So, yeah, Nova on the Shade is not really a bad deal. Once again, they're just kind of dancing here around this creep. Fav knows that he can kind of pick a fight right now because he has mana on his destroyers from that creep camp. So he's definitely going to go after Ted's destroyers, Ted's statues, which are going to take a ton of damage from that extra mana. And so here's this little cute micro dance. Remember Twisted Meadows? The gold mines run out relatively quick, so both players are down to about 3k gold on them. And he gets another Khadgar's Gem of Health. How freaking fantastic. So now he's got plus 600 health from items. Come on now. That's not fair. That's ridiculous. No, it is pretty crazy to get two of those. Imagine stacking those up on like a Mountain King or something. Something that would never die. Like a Mountain King and a Paladin at like 1,000 HP each. Level 5. It's disgusting. This is not really too spectacular. Fav kind of gets cornered here, and he had fighting power while his destroyers had mana, but they don't anymore, and he has also lost a bunch of units, so he can't really fight, and he has to run away. Oh, and then two fiends pass each other over by that 353 null camp. That's cute, just passing by. Hey Ted, how's it going? Hey Bill, off to work. That was stupid. Ted Nova's the Shade. That's very much worth it, as I said earlier. Kill the Shade. Kill the Shade. Shades are just so critical on Undead Mirror. I can't stress it enough how important Shades are. You've got to get Shades. In this game, you're going to see two different styles of late-game Undead. Two different kind of ideologies. Two different doctrines clashing. You have Fav with the very, very old-school mass destroyers. And you'll see he does get quite a bit more destroyers later, too. And then Ted with the very new school, the Banshee strat. which is really cool. We'll talk more about it later when they actually fight. Fav hasn't seen the Banshees yet. I'm pretty sure he does at some point, though. Before they actually fight, he scouts the sack.